let's get on with the show. Tonight, we have the first of a two-part session on marketing your club. And we've got Patricia Radley, who's going to be leading both sessions. Now, I know some of you know Patricia. She's been a Toastmaster since October 2018, and she has served in her club as Sergeant at Arms, VPE, and President of Cork Toastmasters. She's currently serving as Area 23 Director and is very much involved in the current contests that are going on at area level and division level. She's a member of Cork Toastmasters. I'll have to check this because there are a few, so I'll have to make sure I get this right. Cork Toastmasters, Powder Mills Toastmasters, Cornerstones Advanced Communicators, and Sunday Speakers in San Antonio, Texas. So where she finds time to sleep, I'm not too sure with all those. She actually studied marketing at university and worked in marketing field for 10 years. So she has a broad knowledge of the subject, and she's going to talk us through that tonight. So without any further delay, I will hand the floor over to her and she can introduce the evening and how it's going to pan out. So please help me welcome Patricia.
Thank you, Jenny, for that introduction, and hello, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It's great to be here this evening to talk to you about marketing, that often elusive subject that people know they should be doing it. They're not quite sure what to do. They do a little bit, but it doesn't really yield many results. So I'm here tonight to try and help us navigate marketing our clubs, because let's face it, every Toastmasters club wants to grow. They want to get guests to come to the club and to convert those guests then into new members. But the problem is that very often Toastmasters is the best kept secret. And I know we joke about it, but it actually is the best kept secret sometimes. And we need to try to make it not such a secret. And how do we do that? Through doing effective marketing. What I'm going to do over the next 2 weeks is to look at marketing, not from how you necessarily design the campaign and an advertisement and the graphics and all that, but it's what's done in the background. So if you think of how did you first hear about Toastmasters? Okay. Now, you can put that in the chat, or you can just think about it yourself. If you heard about it through word of mouth, maybe. You might have heard about it through a flyer that you saw in your local community centre. You might have seen a post on Facebook or an event on Meetup. And I can't really see the chat here, so I'm presuming comments are being put in there. But irrespective of how you heard about Toastmasters, that was essentially marketing. And if you think of marketing as your shop front, so I want you to think about maybe a department store that you like. Here in Ireland, we have Brown Thomas. Maybe think about Harvey Nicks in the UK, and their shop window. That's their shop front. That's what entices them, or entices you, should I say, to come in to that shop to buy the goods and services that are in there. And that's the end point. That is the culmination or the end of a couple of months of planning when they do their Christmas window, which is coming up now. But it's what goes on before that, deciding where to put the display, deciding what to put in the display, deciding who they want to come into the shop. So that's what we're going to talk about in these couple of weeks, is the nuts and bolts behind it. So your social media post is your shop window, but there's no point in just putting up a shop window without trying to figure out who do you want to come into your shop and what do you want to sell them in that shop. I want you to think about what is marketing. What is marketing? And I have another slide here that sums it up, if my screen will move on. That it's the process of intentionally stimulating demand for and purchases of goods and services, potentially including selection of a target audience, selection of certain attributes or themes. So it's no different whether you're selling handbags or perfume in a department store, whether you're selling a restaurant or a hotel, or whether you're selling what we have to offer in Toastmasters, which is, you could say, improving your public speaking, improving your leadership skills, learning a new skill, networking, creating a new social circle. There are products that we are selling essentially. Now, why is it important to market your club? If you think about that for a second, why is it important to market your club? It's important to market your club because you want it to grow. And if you don't market your club, nobody's going to know about your club. You're just going to rely on maybe word of mouth. Me saying to my friend, I'm a member of Toastmasters, I think you might like it, why don't you come and join? But that's not enough really on its own to get your club to grow at the level that you want it to grow. You need something more, which is a dedicated marketing strategy or dedicated marketing campaign. Apologies, I hit the wrong button there. So it is very important to market your club. Now, I want a show of hands, maybe virtual hands or hands on the screen, when I ask the question, do you actively market your club? No, I'm not asking, do you market? I'm asking, do you actively market? Because there is a difference in that. Because actively marketing is that there's some engagement, that you don't just put a picture up of your club meeting and say, okay, we meet, and I'll use Cork Toastmasters because that's my club. So Cork Toastmasters meets on a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, put the picture up, off you go, marketing done, box ticked. That's not really actively marketing. If you look at that post and you see, okay, it might have 5 or 6 likes. And look, we've all done this. So it's not that I'm saying I've never done this, because I've often done this with things I've been involved in. You put the post up, you think that's great, my marketing is done. And then you look and you 5 or 6 likes. Now, 2 of those might be current members. 1 might be my mother. 1 might be somebody that you know, or sometimes people just scroll and they like things as they go along. And it's just what happens, that they like things. You might get 1 of those people that is somebody that kind of thinks, oh, okay, I might come along to that meeting. But they haven't asked a question. So why haven't they asked a question? To engage with you. So active marketing is when there's a little bit of discourse going on. They might comment and say, okay, what's Toastmasters all about? I've never heard it. And then you're able to answer and explain. Or are you always meeting online? Where used you meet beforehand? How much does it cost? All these questions are helping you to engage with the prospective member. But in order to do that, you have to have that attractive shop window. And if you're just putting up something on Facebook or LinkedIn for the sake of it and not getting much traction on it, then you can't really say you are actively marketing, because it's just a post, it's just there. And okay, if somebody, because if I see something that I want in a shop, for example, I'm going to look at it a little bit more. I'm going to ask about it. I'm going to maybe inquire as to the price if there's not a price tag on it, or I'm going to ask more questions if I see something like a vase or a painting, I'm going to ask more about that if I'm interested in it. If I'm not, I'll just walk on by. So you have to think of your Facebook marketing or your LinkedIn marketing of Toastmasters and your club as the same thing. And now I want you to think about, how do prospective members find your club? Think of your own club. Is it easy for new members to find out about you? Or do they have to do a bit of digging? Do they actively see you on Facebook? Do they are you constantly in their line of vision? Do they constantly see things about you? Or do they remember that once they saw a post about Cork Toastmasters and now they kind of think they want to join, but they have to go and do a little bit of searching to try and find the information on Cork Toastmasters? Because if prospective members have to do a lot of digging to find you, then you're not actively marketing. Whereas if they Google Toastmasters or they put Toastmasters into Facebook and it's appearing, then you're doing something right, because you are attracting your prospective members. So what I want to look at, having said all that, and I'm going to go back a second here now, is we're going to do over the next 2 weeks, we're going to do a breakout room exercise this evening. And what we're going to look at is, we're going to look at identifying needs and wants of prospective members. Then next week, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the needs and wants that we identified, and we're going to create a persona, or we're going to look at personas, because with marketing, personas are always created. And what personas are is your ideal customer, so your ideal member, or the member that you would want to come to your club. Now, having said that, I'm condensing this down into an hour this evening and an hour next week. If you were to do this in your club, you would be brainstorming this maybe over a committee meeting, or you would be brainstorming it over maybe a couple of different evenings. And it might be that several of these goals are what you think your members might want to achieve. But tonight we're only going to work with one because of time constraints. And all the time, keep thinking in your head about active marketing and how do prospective members find your club, because ultimately this is the end goal that we want to achieve. And by the end of the second session, this should be what we have learned to do. So that's our learning outcome, is really to actively market and get prospective members to find your club and engage with your club, and hopefully come to your club and really enjoy what they see and sign up as a member. Because I think ultimately that's what we all want, is to grow, and to get the Toastmasters word out there to everybody. With that in mind, we're going to look now at what we're going to talk about in the breakout room, and that is identifying new or prospective members' needs and wants. So just to explain this, we have divided up 4 breakout rooms, and you'll be randomly assigned. I've given each room a choice of 2 goals. So when you go into the breakout room, I want you to decide which goal you're going to pick. Now, the reason I've given 2 to choose from is, if I give carte blanche, I'm afraid that everybody will deviate towards one, and then that won't make a rich discussion afterwards, because everybody's going to be talking about the same goal. I want you to look at the goal and ask, why is this goal important to your members or your prospective members? And how can you support new or prospective members to achieve this goal? And the third part, which would probably take a little bit more discussion if you were doing this in real life, but I want you to start thinking about it. And that is to consider your club's mission. Every club should have a mission or a mission statement. And what I want you to think about is, our club supports members or prospective members who strive to, whatever your goal is by. And after that, you're going to explain how you help to support and how you craft that, because your club mission statement should feed into your club succession plan. And I think if you do that correctly once, it's easier for others then that come after you to build on it. So Toastmasters did a bit of work on identifying the primary goals of prospective members. So they asked in a research study members what was their reason for joining Toastmasters and what was their primary reason, because we could have 2 or 3 of these as our reasons, but what was their primary reason? Now, this isn't a great graphic. I have tried to make it, to cut it out and make it bigger, but it actually made it worse. So I hope that everybody can see this well enough to understand what's being said. So you can see that the primary goals are to build confidence for public speaking, to become a more effective speaker. They're the top 2. Then to improve presentation skills, to improve leadership, professional goals, then increase fluency, build social connections, network, develop motivational strategies, and with just 1%, prepare for a specific speech that they will have to give. So they're the people that join because maybe they're father of the bride, or they're the best man at a wedding, and they're really zoned in on a specific end goal, and that's their reason for joining. So these are the goals that I want you to consider in the breakout room. So I've divided up the rooms as follows, and I'll leave this up for a while so that you can jot down or take a screenshot is actually the best thing to do of this. And then when you go into your room, you'll know what you're supposed to do. So group 1, I want you to consider the main motivation for joining Toastmasters is to improve presentation skills or to network and build social connections. Group 2, I want you to pick between to become an effective speaker or to prepare a speech for a special purpose. Group 3, I want you to consider either to improve leadership skills or increase fluency. And group 4, I want you to consider achieve professional goals or to build confidence and hone motivational skills. So when you go into your breakout room, there's going to be a moderator in there who's going to make sure that everybody is discussing what they should be discussing. But I want you to fairly quickly decide on what goal you're going to pick. I then want you to decide on somebody to feedback as well, because we're going to have a feedback session at the end and we're going to brainstorm this. So into your breakout rooms, pick your goal, discuss why this goal is important to prospective members, how you can support prospective members to achieve the goal, and then consider how you would put this into your club mission and what steps you need to do. So it's teasing out the minutiae of your goal that you have picked. Okay, so they're going to be in there for 20 minutes. Garrod, our Zoom master, is going to keep an eye on time and will put the messages in and will give you ample warning when the rooms are going to close. Then we'll come back in here and I'm going to get feedback from each of the 4 groups, maybe a couple of minutes each, on what you discussed in your room, and we can have a chat about it then. Is that okay? And does anybody have any questions on that? And I can only see a small few screens, so if anybody has any questions, just shout because I won't see your hands. Are we all okay? So I'll leave you to decide there now. I'm only here just to make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, so I'm not going to interject too much.
Who's going to do the recording? Who's going to do the talk back? That's the important bit. No, it's not the recording. It's somebody to do the feedback. We need to decide that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give the feedback.
You'll give the feedback, Lisa. Good. Now, I need the slide up again, Patricia, because
Yeah, I'll share that there. Now, I don't have the Garrow's exact slide, but I will get it there. on my
Don't need
computer.
that. What's your thoughts anyhow? Leadership skills or fluency?
Well, I prefer fluency. It's the main drive for Toastmasters to be able to speak better. For me, anyway.
Okay, and
That's mine. Anybody else?
Just going to share.
I second fluency.
yeah, we'll go with
Okay.
fluency then. Let's go with
Fluency,
fluency.
yeah.
Then. So,
Yeah.
So our goal is to So what we should be looking at is then consider the club meeting. Our club supports those who strive to improve the fluency, and we should really talk about how we're going to do it. Would that be right, Patricia?
Yeah.
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 Okay, that's grand.
Okay.
Oops, sorry.
But TJ, will you kick it off there, seeing that you
Right. Well, first it says, why is the goal important to us? Because I suppose the main reason for joining Toastmasters is to improve our fluency, in speaking. Like most of us lack, well, that's why I lacked a bit of confidence, getting up to talk in front of a crowd, or if you're in a position where you have to speak for 5 or 10 minutes, that you can be fluent and that people can understand what you say and what you want to say, that they're able to say what you want to say. So I think that's one of the driving forces for Toastmasters, and that's the area I think we need to be harnessing, when you get people in that they can, that's what they're going to improve on. It's the way
what can we do to improve that then? What can we do more?
Well, it has to be done within the club, giving people experience. The whole thing is like giving somebody, you get the experience in a controlled environment to do that.
I think also is.
David, we can see you. We just about heard you.
No, and
hear that at all.
I've lost everyone. So let me just try.
Oh, you're
again.
back. You're back again now.
Right, Brian.
Okay,
yes,
Brian, you've got to go,
think it's
Brian. Talk to you, Brian.
Is
Yeah,
to
that's-
stress
sorry.
our development of fluency through not only through practice but through support and feedback. I can't think of any other organization which provides so much constructive and helpful feedback as well as plenty of practice. So I think
Okay.
in terms of our marketing, that is something that's crucial for us to talk about. Plenty of feedback, constructive and helpful.
Yeah, I don't doubt that, David. I think we do good feedback, we do. But do we? I'd ask the two TJs to answer this one. Like, while we give good feedback, we do good valuations, we do all that. Do we focus enough then on fluency? If we've chosen fluency here, and this is what we're saying, do we focus enough on it? Lisa, what do you think? Like, do we?
I don't think we do, and I don't think we do. But I think the reasons behind it is because, in my opinion, Toastmasters is open to everybody. So fluency of speech doesn't come that easy for everyone. So you have to bear in mind, if I'm taking this specific topic up the right way, you have to bear in mind that there's going to be barriers for everyone. So there's going to be a barrier on English for some people, not for everybody. And I think, if that sounds
Yeah, because like everyone is at a different level.
right.
But we do emphasize de-arming,
Yeah.
and we have a special dedicated person during each session to make sure that our language is being corrected, or at least we have a grammarian to. So we do certain things.
But not necessarily, because I don't think, in my opinion, grammarian and a counter is one role that doesn't always get filled every night.
In our case, it does.
Yeah, but you're lucky. You're lucky, but not in every club. Not in every club. It doesn't get filled every night.
But I would ask the
like-
question then, Lisa, do you know the way we occasionally have somebody talking about vocal variety, and we have sometimes we have a speech about body language, we have someone speaking about different things. Should we actually have somebody prepare a 10-minute speech about fluency and have it analyzed? If we're saying, as TJ has rightly said, that the importance of fluency, would you agree with that, putting that in as a TJ as a
yeah, it sounds like a good idea. Yeah, definitely.
I
It's another option
agree
there.
with that.
But a lot
Yeah.
of that stuff is built in within pathways now, and in the different choices that you have as an athlete when you're doing pathways. Like part of this is we're here to try and find a way how we're going to promote the club. We're not trying to knock it, we're trying to promote it. So we're trying to find ways.
Yeah.
If we're here tonight to try and find how we're going to increase our memberships, right?
I think the best thing that we can do, if you have prospective members or new members, the best way to keep them as a member is get them involved in the meetings fairly rapidly and I'm not saying with big roles, with small roles, like timekeeper or
Counter.
account or topics master or something, something along that line. But basically, when, in my opinion, if somebody agrees to join your club, have somebody there with more experience that person can actually call on if they need to be mentored. Because I think that's the thing as well. It might actually prevent people doing speeches if they feel that they're going to struggle doing them on their own and not knowing who to ask. So I do think it's important that there's a list of 2 or 3 what would you say, experienced members that actually are there to give good feedback to newer members on speeches or any other concerns that they may have, in my opinion.
Yeah, two things. Sorry, David, go on. Yeah,
I think we should promote ourselves as clubs that provide everyone with a mentor to guide and help them prepare speeches, significant roles. And there's that, again, is something that most organizations don't have, is mentors with skill and experience to guide the newer members for as long as seems appropriate. And, because we have members certainly in our club who are terrified when they walk through the door, if they manage to walk through the door, and there are others who are quite confident and then suddenly realize from the feedback, the evaluations they're getting, that there's a lot that they could do to improve their skills and be even more fluent and effective.
the 2 points I would add to your notes, Lisa, is number one, it's the one place that you can fall flat on your face, and it's quite okay.
Yeah.
It's the one meeting that you can literally dry up. You're given a topic and you can just say, I just cannot answer. I've nothing to, I can't comment on it. So you can literally fall flat in your face. I think the other point that we should maybe be stressing is, and also making sure it doesn't frighten people off, that people should use the opportunity of Zoom that as a Toastmaster member, and sometimes, David, I find that new members are fascinated with this, that once they become a member, they can click into a meeting here, there, and everywhere. And
Yeah.
what
Yes.
it's another great learning opportunity, especially with what's going on at the moment, is the contests, and to see fluency, at its all-time best at the contest. Would that be a fair comment, TJ?
Yeah, well, that's what I'd say. It's it's TJ.
Either TJ,
No,
yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's the advantage of being in the contest, that you actually see how other people perform, and you learn a lot from that, even from doing it yourself. Not even from doing it yourself or not doing it yourself. It's when you see the competitions and how other people do actually perform. You know, you learn an awful lot from that. You learn as much from that as much as nearly doing the speech yourself. You know, learning from other people. And I think it's probably where we lack a bit maybe in Toastmasters, that you don't actually promote, that you actually learn from your own, as much from the other members and how they perform or don't perform, either ways, you know, but that you see how other people get on, or how people can make mistakes or not make mistakes. You know, that it's more of a learning as much from your other members as from yourself.
And in the context of fluency then, and what the other TJ said there, that, you know, I think we sometimes maybe devalue, Lisa, these minor roles, that the grammarian, I know in our club, I'm a right stickler at it. People are getting fed up listening to me, that heretofore we used to just say, pick the word. The grammarian has to come in with comments about, especially the turn of phrase or the good comments, and that's a whole learning experience as well for people. I missed that message. Sorry, Lisa.
There's only like 5 minutes left, so I suppose what we're trying to do now is get our notes together so that I can deliver what I need to deliver.
And tell me, how are you doing, Lisa? Will you tell us where you're at and tell us what you need?
May I also add table topics as a tool? I think that's a very, very important tool for fluency.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that, actually.
Table topics as a tool to promote fluency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us how you're doing, Lisa, because we want to make sure you shine when you go back out to that big
I don't know.
and represent the blue room well. Thank you for volunteering.
I just kind of took words down as we go. I mean, I took down the phrase there that you said yourself, Martin, in relation to making sure that new members or guests, if they speak on the given night, that it's okay for them to say that they don't want to answer a given topic, or if they do answer it, it's okay for them to fall flat in their face and make a mistake. I actually thought that was good. And the contests, you know, I thought that was actually a good one as well, that, like, you know, how we see how others perform, you know, that we value their input, that we can actually, what would you say?
Could I suggest that you open?
A bit lost on that one. But then
could I suggest
the mentoring, I think a mentor should definitely, in my opinion. No, go on now.
Could I suggest, Lisa, that you open your speech by stressing TJ, and I mean the top TJ here. I don't mean TJ, you're not top. I'm separating the two. The TJ with the headpiece. That the point that TJ made, TJ Megan, the reason we choose the reason, what do we say? I've lost my words now. The reason we choose what's the word I'm looking for?
The reason that we choose our club is because of the support.
No, the reason we choose this topic over leadership.
The fluency.
Fluency, that's the word I'm stuck for. With the reason we choose fluency is what TJ Megan said at the start, which is what Toastmasters is all about and why we come. And I think that's a nice opening. Say it again, TJ, so she gets a. Say what you said at the start, so Lisa has it.
I forget, but the reason we joined Toastmasters is to improve our fluency, you know, that we can speak to people in a coherent way, that they can actually understand us. Sometimes I find I'd be at a meeting and you have a lot of things to say, but it doesn't come out the way you wanted to say it.
That's me every day.
You know,
never, Lisa, don't believe that.
That's me every day. That's me
So
Every day.
that's a nice opening. Sorry, I cut across you there, but that's a nice opening for your reply. Are you okay then? Had you another couple of points you wanted?
I just kind of wrote down bits and pieces, really.
I even think that, you're talking about the grammarian, right? It's as important for a person to be listening to other people. You learn by listening as much as you learn by speaking. And when you're a grammarian, you have to focus on what other people are saying, and you actually learn, even without listening to the grammar words, you're listening to what the person is saying, and that's where you learn as much, I think.
Oh no, I agree, because I think, grammarian, you're able to improve your own vocabulary as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's a lovely word. Get that word in there, Lisa. Get that word into your reply somewhere. The vocabulary. I love that word.
Yeah.
And these are the issues. These are the reasons. These are the ways of promoting Toastmasters. This is all we're trying to promote Toastmasters. So if you're out there trying to,
and I think getting somebody or finding somebody to do a speech on fluency will definitely help all clubs, in my opinion. All clubs, so.
Well done, folks. We're going to be whisked out of here now in a moment. So just say well done, and thanks, Lisa, for volunteering.
I hope everybody had a fruitful discussion there and looked at your goals and were able to brainstorm on the questions that I posed. So what I intend to do now is to get feedback, and I'll just go through in chronological order: group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4 as designated on the slide that Garrod had. So group 1 is the red group. So do we have a volunteer for the red group?
Yes, I will speak for the red group.
Oh, hi, Philip. How are you? If you want to chat about what goal you picked first.
Yes, we were invited to consider presentation skills or building up social contacts, and we decided that building up social networks was not the primary motivation for people to join Toastmasters. So we focused on presentation skills, and we addressed ourselves principally to two things. One was why presentation skills were important, and secondly, how do we support members in achieving their goals. And the reasons why we thought presentation skills were important were included, and there will be a lot of overlap with the other group for sure. To build confidence, or because people needed to present to their peers or even to groups other than Toastmasters. For experienced speakers, there was a need to hone skills, and young professionals who wanted to develop public speaking, although we had a bit of a debate about whether public speaking was of interest to anybody, because not many Toastmasters believe that they are public speakers. But to encourage our members, there was a lot of emphasis on encouraging people to choose pathways and to develop their progress along the paths that they've chosen, suggesting the next step, and a lot of focus on mentoring and monitoring the process of mentoring, as well as providing educational talks, information to enhance their knowledge of the whole business of presentation and public speaking, and to focus ultimately on communication rather than on specifically public speaking or presentations. That was the red group.
Thank you for that, Philip. And I suppose you could incorporate that then into your club mission, that your club mission is to help by doing X, Y, and Z, I think is the idea that we're trying to look at when we're talking about the club mission, so that if you're somebody that's there, that's thinking, I want to improve my presentation skills, and you see that a club has a mission that your presentation skills will be improved in this club because we offer, and then you list the reasons that you've given, I think that will help your club to become more attractive, because it will resonate with that particular person and that you can help them. And of course, more of what we'll discuss next week is how you then illustrate that in your marketing message. But that's for next week, because we could dive into that this evening and go off the idea of the goals. So the idea now is to think of our goals, and next week we'll marry what you've said, Philip, with how you create the shop front, essentially. Group 2 is, I think, was that Elizabeth or was it Sue? Or maybe it was Danny. Okay, I knew that would happen.
It was not Elizabeth.
It's Danny. Thanks, Danny. And was there somebody in that group that wanted a feedback?
Indeed. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Christopher. I can indeed, Christopher. Off you go.
Okay, many thanks. I must say we had quite a discussion on which they want people really joined Toastmasters for, and we decided in the end on the more effective speaker. Yeah, the single speech we thought had some advantages for promoting your skills because it was more focused, but most people want to become just more effective speakers. And why do they want to become more effective speakers? Well, it was often career related. They wanted to be able to give talks, go to meetings and speak their mind, get their point across. Yeah. And also, yeah, quite important, we thought it was that they could handle in the business environment, but also generally those thinking on their feet, yeah, questions, yeah, which we covered with table topics. So they were the points why people want to become more effective speakers, and to support that, yeah, we had our program, yeah. One of the points we wanted to bring about was that you did multiple speeches, yeah. So you got experience of speeches, that they were very well and supportively evaluated, yeah. So you got realistic evaluations, so you knew how well you were doing and encouraged to get better. And also, yeah, somebody actually thought we should put in that you can progress this, yeah, through various stages of public speaking and even into competition, yeah. So our guys were aiming for the sky. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Christopher. And why not aim for the sky? Group 3, I think, was the group I was in with, and I think, if I'm correct, that's the blue group. Yep. So Lisa, I think you were our spokesperson in that group.
Apologies there, Patricia.
You're grand, you're fine.
Yeah. Well, we had to decide between fluency or leadership in Toastmasters, and the group decided to focus more on fluency. And fluency, what is it, shall we say? A good definition that was given by one of my fellow members in my group there was, it's the reason that we join Toastmasters, to be fluid in our speech, that we're not stuttering and slowing down, doing exactly what I'm doing right now, but it's a learning curve. It's supportive, and we actually have members in all clubs, in my opinion, that'll actually give honest feedback. I think one of the things that we said in our group was, it'd be great if we could get somebody to do a speech based on fluency within the club. I think for everybody, so that everybody as members can actually understand what it is, as well as if we have new members don't really want to do things on their own. So it's very important to actually have an experienced mentor, an experienced person and mentor that can actually help them along on their journey. And what else do we have? The most important thing for members is to realize that it's okay to fall flat on your face. It has been done and it will continue to be done, but that's how we learn, and that's why it's a supportive network. And for all of us to literally take a look at the contests and how they're run by everybody on board, so that we as a group in any club can actually bring the feedback back to our own club. So I think that's pretty much it, Madam Toastmaster. And just to make sure that we don't devalue smaller roles.
Thanks for
Thank
that,
you.
Lisa. Thank you. And yeah, I like what you said there, that, you know, that it's okay to show that we can fall flat in our face, because it will happen time and time again. And I think that's something good to be explored more. I think when we're talking about attracting new members, because I think the fear might be, oh God, I'll stand up, I'll open my mouth, nothing will come out and I'll be embarrassed. Whereas it's happened to all of us. It's happened to me on several occasions and will continue to do so. So I think that kind of idea that
Just happened to me there now.
exactly, that we're all in it together. I think that's great. So thanks for that, Lisa. And our final group is the black group. Am I correct? Might get this right. Oh, green. Sorry, the green group. And do we have a volunteer from the green group? And James, how are you, James?
Hi, Patricia. Good evening, colleagues. Here are the votes of the Green Party. We had to decide between achieving professional goals or developing strategy for motivating others. And we quickly decided that we wanted to achieve professional goals. Even though, as one of our members said, professional goals didn't exist when some of us joined Toastmasters. The first thing we did was we identified what type of professional goals. It could be anything from delivering more professional project pitches and updates. It could be just more competent in speaking in groups, better at interviews, become a better trainer, or presentation skills and public speaking. We then came on to the crux of the matter, as how can we support members doing this? Well, we have plenty of suggestions there. The first and perhaps the most vital one is to actually ask the individual what their goal is. That seems to be something that's ignored. They have the support of the group, a mentor for one-to-one support, positive encouragement, and starting with baby steps with those first few words at the end of a meeting. But we also need to know when to give them the push, like the baby bird out of the nest. Some of us need to learn Zoom skills, to challenge ourselves. The importance of mentors, but mentors not only within the club, but outside the club, outside the area, outside the division, or even outside the country. The important thing is that the mentor is experienced. And you can have more than one, and they can be flexible. The importance of valuations and feedback shows progress, and also help in identifying the best pathway for the individual's needs. And we did actually get on to the club message, club motto, and we decided that our club supports those who strive to achieve their personal goals by developing their confidence and personal skills and talents with mutual support in a positive and safe environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, James, and for your great feedback there. I'm conscious of the time, but I hope that everybody found that brainstorming useful. And what I want you to do is hold those thoughts that you've had today about the goals. And next week, what I want to do is to progress this a step further and look at personas. So when people are marketing, they always create a persona. So a hotel manager will create, if he's creating a new hotel, will create a persona of the kind of guests he wants to stay in the hotel. Okay? And then that helps them to craft the message. So if you want somebody that has a huge amount of disposable income to stay in your hotel, for example, you will craft your message accordingly, and you will show the spa or the expensive restaurant because that's attractive to them. So what we're going to do next week is we're going to look at the different kind of personas that make up our Toastmasters members. Again, this is done from research that Toastmasters has done. And what we're going to try and do then is marry that with the goals we set and start thinking about what message we would create for that particular person. So it helps with your persona if you give the persona a name and you start thinking about it as a person rather than just something out there in the ether that is a possibility. So we'll take our persona, we'll give them a name, and we'll try and marry them with the goals. Now, I have taken a picture of who was in what group. So next week we'll try and put you back in those same groups so that we can discuss with what you discussed this week. Now, having said that, if somebody comes along next week that wasn't there this week, it will be easy enough for them to catch up. With that, I want to open the floor and see if anybody has any additional comments or questions or suggestions, because we have maybe 3 minutes just to tie all this up. Anybody wants to contribute anything? I suppose what I would say is that we did this quite quickly tonight in terms of we squashed it into an hour. I would advise anybody, and I will send links at the end of tonight, or I can send it at the end of week 2, that you sit down as a committee and you look and you brainstorm and you take 3 or 4 goals, because my primary goal might have been to increase my effective speaking skills, but I might have 2 or 3 secondary goals, so we need to capture those as well. So it's important that you sit down and you brainstorm as a committee. And look, this mightn't be something that everybody achieves this year. It might be something that you start on your committee, and then at the beginning of next year, you sit down and you really go for it. And you see, does it work? And see, is it increasing your membership? And then you tweak it accordingly. And marketing is all about looking at what you're doing, analysing, and making little changes to see how it works for you. And Philip Canpani, I see you have your hand up there.
Yeah. How important is it to have a club website? And should that be the destination point? Or should, for example, a Facebook page for your club be the preferred destination point?
I think the way I would look at that is, I think a website is important in that it's, that's like your home base. So that's the conduit for all the information on your club. So who the officers are, what time you meet, how much you pay, what Toastmasters is about, your links to pathways. So that's the house, essentially. That's everything. But I do think the social media pages are important, provided they're the correct ones. And that's a little bit what we're going to tap into next week, where your prospective members are. But I think it's important then to have information on social media if that's where your members are going to see it, because very often you happen upon these pages when you're looking through social media, whereas you have to hunt out a website. So I would say both. Think of the website as the grounding, and then the social media. And I know Sue Burnett, I know you do a lot of work with Cornerstone there, and the website, my opinion on this is that the website there is the, I was going to say the cornerstone, but that's a bad joke, but that's the home point. And then what you do on social media is how you attract the people to come to events. So I think they work, Philip, in tandem. So I'd never discount the website, but I see that more as a repository for your resources, whereas I think the social media is the driver for your members and your membership.
About the shop window.
Exactly. Yeah. Have we any more thoughts or ideas before?
Yeah. Patricia, I have one idea.
Yeah.
In addition to the website, what's most important, there's not much point in having a website if nobody can find it.
Yeah.
So search engine optimization is vital. And I noticed that an awful lot of clubs are not improvising that. Even when they have websites, it's still hard to find them. You won't find them unless you put in the word Toastmasters. But when people are looking for public speaking training, they don't put in Toastmasters. They don't even know what Toastmasters is.
Absolutely. And you could do 3 or 4 training sessions on search engine optimization alone, and how to delve into that. And I know when I was working in marketing, it was very frustrating for me. I'd go on lots of different courses about it, and then I'd just get my head around it, and parameters would change. You'd have to go back and look into it all again. So that is important as well.
The Toastmasters guys actually have a very good training course on that.
Yeah, and we can share links for that as well. I can include that in my links.
Great.
With that, again, look, we only had an hour tonight. I'm happy if anybody wants to email me or send me a message, and we can discuss this further. And I look forward to part 2 next week, again, where we look at personas and we start thinking about how we're going to get all our clubs more active in marketing, and we're going to increase our membership and hopefully build on our already successful clubs. So with that, I thank you for your attention tonight, and I think I'm handing you to our Club Growth Director, Elizabeth Jordan.
You are indeed. First of all, let's give Patricia a massive round of applause. Unmute yourselves.
Well done, Patricia.
Okay, well, Patricia, Program Quality Director Brenda Lannon couldn't be here tonight, so obviously I'm stepping in to say a few words of thanks to you, and they're absolutely heartfelt. I think this has been an interesting, informative, and I think a very instructive session, and it's come at exactly the right time. We need to do more marketing in District 71, not only for our clubs, but for the areas, divisions, and district. And what I love particularly is the way you've done the sessions. I think you've really made it very interactive. You've made, and the breakout rooms, we had a great time in our room, and I particularly love that. So I hope you'll keep that for next week. Just want to say thank you, and I want to say a public thank you on a greater stage, because this year is the first time that Toastmasters International has added marketing to training. And when it came across in July, and remember, I had to do it, and I asked around, could someone help? And you were the only person who put your hand up and said, I will help. And you did a fantastic job then, you did a fantastic job tonight. And I think we're really, really lucky for what you're doing for our club. So huge thanks, really looking forward to next week. And certainly I want to stay with my own group, they were great fun, and look forward to that. So thank you, Patricia, for a job extremely well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I look forward to next week.
Yeah. I was just wondering, this is the second one I've attended, although I was a wee bit late to this one now, but what are these about? Is this just about improving Toastmasters? Is that it? Or is it essential learning for the new pathways that has been introduced?
Do you want to take that, Danny? And I wanted to hand over to Danny as well, just to close out the meeting as well, just before everybody goes.
Yeah, the training sessions are designed to try and help everybody in Toastmasters in District 71. So we have some that are specific, that probably appeal more to officers, like marketing, moments of truth. We have others that are things like evaluation. We had a very good session last year on Canva and LinkedIn, which are just general skills for everybody. So we try to create a mixture for all Toastmaster members in the district. So that's the aim of the training sessions.
Or just to sort of improve us as members or something? Is that what you said?
Well, it's to improve you as members, but also a lot of the topics help you in your private life, you know, your professional life as well. I mean, we had a session on LinkedIn, 2 sessions on LinkedIn last year, which are helpful for you in your own professional life as well. You know, the principles that we discussed there could be applied to that. It is, yes, we want to help Toastmasters. And as Elizabeth said, we want to have topics like marketing, which help us to build stronger clubs. But we also offer things like how to do evaluations and the social media stuff as well. So we try to cover as broader area as possible in these sessions.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll just add my thanks to Patricia for tonight, and we're so looking forward to next week. And it's just so important, this topic at the moment, after coming out of COVID. We need to get the message out there that Toastmasters is alive and kicking, and we want people joining us. So thank you very much. I will see you next week, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.
Danny.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Had young students
We've had students that have come along because they have to do a presentation in front of their peers, and it's something that they might not be confident in. And that's people that are in the nursing profession or any other skill set. We also have older people joining to get out with their comfort zone. They've started doing some voluntary work with an organisation and they want to be able to go out and promote that. So it's different reasons and different age groups come along to do better in their presentation skills.
Okay, thank you very much for the feedback. And let's go for John. Why is this goal important for your members?
Well, thank you. I agree with what the two previous speakers have said. Most of our members would have joined for those reasons. I do know one or two people that have joined who would be very confident speakers, but they may talk too much and ramble on a bit, and they tend to want to learn how to time their speaking, and also maybe to help them to evaluate and to be a better listener rather than a speaker. So there's that angle that I have noticed in one or two members. But overall, it's to build confidence and maybe to present in organisations outside of Toastmasters.
Thank you, John. Let's go to Janet now.
Adding to the idea of students joining, some come to defend their, to get skills to defend their thesis. Other people join for competitive reasons. Some are looking to win the World Championship of Public Speaking. So we'll turn it to another person.
Okay, Tom, we haven't heard from you yet.
Okay, can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Just trying out a new microphone here, so it gets right in. Okay, in our club, Limerick Toastmasters, our priority is to get people in the professional group. We're part of 3 clubs. Well, we're one of 3 clubs in the city of Limerick, and even though we compete with each other, we also support each other, if you know what I mean. So what we do is we tend to go for the professional. That is the person between 20 and 40 who is in a working situation. I'm not saying we reject anybody outside that, because we do get people coming in outside that group, but that's primarily where we go for. So a lot of them are joining, most people will join our clubs to learn public speaking. The presentation, and there is a difference between public speaking and presentation. Presentation is when you're using something like PowerPoint or something like another prop, when you're trying to emphasize the speech a little bit more. So a lot of people don't join for the reason for learning presentation skills per se. They join to learn public speaking and obviously the confidence building. But presentation skills, which is obviously we all know is a module in Pathways, that comes, like I've had one person so far that joined this year. We've had 7 people that joined so far in our club, and because since we went back to the hotel, and one of them asked to do an icebreaker using a PowerPoint, which I found very unusual, but I did a system because he wasn't too sure about what way to use it. But everybody else that has done an icebreaker so far is just done the normal icebreaker without any props whatsoever, and usually had a piece of paper with them as well. So presentation skills needs to be defined as well. Presentations are not public speaking it's public speaking with an extra, which is in my case, in most cases, a PowerPoint or some sort of an overhead slide or something like that people use. Okay.
Thank you for your contribution, Tom. And you're quite right, presentation skills can be a whole manner of things, and we might want to be able to better present ourselves to the world, and that could be considered a presentation skill. And we can be not a prop but a visual aid, how we show up in the world. So I can understand that presentation skills can be put into one box, but we don't necessarily have to think that way. Now, Philip, have you got a contribution as to why presentation skills might be important to your members?
Yeah, I'm a bit concerned about what Tom said, because my experience is the opposite. I find very few Toastmasters are prepared to tell you that they want to be or consider themselves public speakers. There's an impression of public speakers as being platform speakers and professional platform speakers, and very few Toastmasters see themselves in that light. And so presentation skills is kind of a less threatening version of public speaking in their minds. And a lot of them think in terms of having the opportunity to try out things and to practice and so on. All the things that Toastmasters claim to be about, and they buy into that. And they say, yes, I'd like an environment where I can try things out and practice where it may not matter. And that is why presentation skills as a title of activity may appeal to a lot of people more than the possibly threatening title of public speaking.
Yes, an example could be that somebody wants to go for an interview, and during that interview they need to make a short presentation, and that puts them into that platform. And if you can help them to be able to deliver that presentation, then you've taken them one step closer towards a goal. So let's move on to looking at how we can support our members to achieve whatever their goal might be. So let's pick one from your box, John. So if you can just pick one idea and share that with us, how you might support your members towards the presentation skills.
Sorry, is that me?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think there's two Johns, is there?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, John Conroy. Yeah, I'm just going down the room in the same
It's
order.
the course of my life, you know, just well, we tend to let people themselves, we make them aware of everything, but we tend to ask people what do they want to do, and we assist them in doing that. We don't have people doing PowerPoints until maybe, you know, level 3 on the new pathways thing and that. But we give them whatever advice, but usually we find that they're quite competent at using the PowerPoints and things like that. But we would see every talk that somebody gives in front of an audience as a presentation, and if they use PowerPoint or something else, well, that's using an aid to their speech. Well, I don't know whether am I answering your question or am I missing the point?
We're looking at supporting our members. How would we support our members? So if you're not, we can move on to someone else. That's absolutely fine. Your contribution is valuable.
One of the things we've introduced since we went back face to face is mentoring, and our newer members are all now getting a mentor to help them with them, and they've been given contacts and they can phone or talk whatever way. So I'm taking up too much of your time, so go ahead.
Okay, let's move on. Janet, you're in the middle of my screen, so I'll move to you next. What other things are you doing to help support your members?
We're pairing them up with like the mentor-mentee relationship. We have people, apart from that, just checking up on them and offering help with the Pathways program or with the crafting of the speech, or giving a gentle nudge, like maybe you might want to consider trying this role or presenting a speech. So helping them to feel confident to propel forward on their path.
Thank you.
And encouraging people to get involved in contests as well, stepping out of their comfort zone, trying something new.
Excellent, thank you, Janet. John, the other John.
Yeah. We do all of the above, and the other thing that we do in recent times is to show new members how to navigate through Pathways, because this can be daunting for new members and a bit tricky for older members who are coming onto the Pathways as well. So that's one area that I would suggest that you need to get new members up and running and familiar with how Pathways works.
Thank you, John. Helen, have you got any other contributions you'd like to suggest how you support your members towards their presentation goals?
As a VPE in my club, I always check what path they're doing, what are they expecting to get out of the path, and what can we do as a club to help them get there. And during that discussion, we find out more about their needs, and at that point we can guide them in a assisting way, not actually doing it for them, but saying, have you thought about this? What about this elective? What about this project? How do you think you're going to tackle it? Because after all, it is the member that needs or requires the skills that they've come to join Toastmasters for.
Indeed,
so thank you for that, Sue.
No, it's important to ask them what they need so we can give them the support they need. So anything else you'd like to contribute, Tom?
Yeah, I agree with the mentoring, one-to-one mentoring, and but it's also important that is monitored, because not every mentor is effective in mentoring other people. So it is usually monitored by the Vice President of Education, and he in turn is, or he or she in turn is monitored by the President. So it must be reports coming back from both parties, the mentor and the mentee, on a regular basis to see how the mentoring is actually going. Also, there are two other areas that our club get involved with educating people. We attribute 10 minutes every meeting to education talks, and that's because there's a number of people involved in external programs such as Pathways. The other one, the Speechcraft program, and there's some education talks on that they practice by doing it in the club. And sometimes that is geared towards new members as well, and it's anything to do with communication skills and confidence skills. Also, we have an interactive or a multimedia library where we have video and audio, as well as reading material that people can read on how to do PowerPoint, how to do the other Google Slides, or just how to make a presentation. There's some very good books out there, and we provide that available to them. They can download it or read it online, whatever.
Thank you, Tom. And Philip?
Well, I pretty much agree with everything that's been said, but we need one other thing which hasn't been said, which is we boost individual members in our meeting reports. I think not every club writes a report on the last meeting that they held, but in those meeting reports, it's very important, I think, to boost individual members. In fact, to mention everybody by name, because people like to see that their name, and it reinforces their commitment to the club. They say, oh, well, I'm recognized, I'm acknowledged. And in little ways like this, by boosting individuals in these little ways, you create a kind of sense of community, don't you?
Okay.
It's important to recognize a member's contribution, no matter the size of their contribution. They all need to feel valued and important, and we need to help them feel that they are valued and they make a valuable contribution to our club. Now, I know we've only got 1 minute left, so we won't go into the last point to create the mission statement, because I think that we would run out of time. So Philip's going to be our spokesperson, and I'm sure he will do us proud. So if there's any closing comments.
What about the standard mission statement that most clubs are using, which is the one that Toastmasters gives them, to provide a supportive and positive learning experience? That one, that's the standard one.
I think a lot of what we've been saying actually addresses precisely that.
Yeah, that's what.
So without formally addressing the mission statement, we actually, in practice, we have done.
And it covers the word communications rather than presentations or public speaking, as you were saying, Philip. Yeah. It covers the whole word of communications, because that covers a multitude, really.
Okay, I will see you in the other room.
See you on the other side.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. I shan't argue. Yeah.
Okay.
Well
I
done.
have my
Christopher.
pen in hand.
So, Christopher, I hand the floor to you. Well volunteered.
Okay. I'm normally known by my second name, Mark, actually. Yeah. And it
Mark.
always a bit confusing.
Sorry, Mark, over to you.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. So we get straight into it and decide which of the two questions we're going to answer. Yeah, or address. Now I'm saying, do people want to become more effective speakers? That seemed to be the biggest part of that pie chart, or prepare for a specific speech, which seemed a fairly small minority. But what are people's views? How would you go, Tom?
Personally, I think I would go for the preparing a speech for a specific purpose. Because one of the things that I discovered in Toastmasters is that, generally speaking, many of the speeches are not inspiring. They're sort of, I don't wish to be disrespectful now to anybody, of course I don't. Sort of general run-of-the-mill speeches. I use myself as an example. I know that I put a lot of research into preparing my speech, writing it up, editing it down, rereading, rewriting. I will do that a few times, and then I will start practicing against the clock until I get the 3 points that I wish to, or 4 maximum that I wish to deal with, get that message across. And I'm very, very aware that 4 points in any speech, it's a little bit on the, it's a bit too much, because when you consider that we only have 5 to 7 minutes, if you spend the first 30 seconds or 40 seconds introducing what you're speaking about, and then take at least 1 minute and 10 or 1 minute 15 seconds for each point that you're going to speak about, it's not a lot of time, but yet, like, if you prepare positively, focus on the salient points that you want to get across, and then leading out for about another minute or so, you will find that you will have clocked up at least somewhere in the region of somewhere between 6 and maybe 6.5 minutes. So one will get their speech in the 7 minutes.
Okay, I think we get the gist that preparing for a speech, which is single speech, you'll be more purposeful and directed. Yeah.
Exactly.
What do you think, Danny?
Exactly, Mark. Yes, exactly.
Mark.
Oh yes, Evelyn.
Evelyn. Mark, I would prefer, my choice would be to prepare a speech for a specific purpose, because while you're preparing the speech, while you're practicing the speech, while you're delivering the speech, you're also going to become an effective speaker, a more effective speaker. So I think if we choose that one, we can kill 2 birds with the 1 stone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Danny? Moira?
I'm just here as moderator. It's
Oh,
what
sorry.
you want.
Mary? Oh, Moira.
Well, what I like, well, I'll go along with you, but I personally love the idea of improving leadership skills, because, to be honest with you, I'm hopeless, especially within the family. So I have learned a certain amount of leadership, but I'll go along with the majority.
Okay. I think the other alternative.
Actually, I just want to say at this point that I'm complete.
Moira?
Hi, thank you, Mark. Well, my choice will become more effective speaker, And the reason is because we need to embrace or serving the audience. And sometimes, for instance, in Zoom, today we have a meeting and we don't know the people who will be there. And I think that to be more interactive, and also it is more art than a science. So for me, I feel that sometimes we believe that we are effective. And sometimes people are many years in Toastmasters and they don't realize that we need to have the impact, we need to have the way to impress people, to find the way to be memorable. And I think that to become like that is when we see sometimes the professional speakers, and then we realize that they are there and we are here. So the question is, me, I want to be unique. How can I reach to become more effective speaker? And I think that when you see somebody who doesn't do professionally and you're still passionate, we need to find the technique to be more effective speaker.
Okay, thank you. Eamon?
Right, I might have missed the plot there because my internet broke down, so I had to switch to another machine. So maybe I've missed, or what project did we pick?
We need to pick one or the other, and it's just which do you want to pick? Do you want to...
Unfortunately, I haven't seen any of them.
Doesn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're either going to be... the objectives are either to become a more effective speaker or to prepare for a single speech, like, you know, giving a speech at a wedding. Yeah.
Probably the first one to become a more effective speaker, because the other is just for a single event.
Okay, Sue?
It would be the same as well. I would rather be the effective, go for the effective speaker.
Okay, guys. Well, so very democratically, we've arrived at becoming a more effective speaker. Yeah. And then we just need to get some ideas down on how our club is going to support members to become more effective speakers. Yeah. So, who would like to lead on this?
I suppose that brings the famous word mentoring to mind.
Yes.
Which is maybe something we're good and not so good at, or formal and not so formal.
Okay.
I suppose on Zoom maybe mentoring has changed as well.
Yeah. So when we're advertising, we can make the point that they're mentored. Yeah, they're supported. There's good support.
That there will be support. Yeah.
Yeah, including one-to-one mentoring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else like to come in? I'm trying desperately to think of something myself now.
Maybe effective feedbacks, like when you have an honest feedback.
Yes.
To make this better speaker, and I think that you will improve a lot.
Okay, that's a good point.
I think.
I mean, so this is, this is our evaluation process. So we have. Yeah.
I think part of the question, sorry, Mark, part of the question, the first bit is somebody who comes to your club who wants to be a more effective speaker, what, other than be more effective speaker, what goals have they got? Why do they want to be a more effective speaker? And what can we do? I think mentoring and what you've said is answering the second bit.
What did Mark?
What we can offer.
Yes.
What if somebody comes to your club and they want to be an effective speaker, what's the goal? Why do they want to do that?
And why do they want to become an effective
speaker? So then we can look at it and say, well, we can offer this. We've offered mentoring and we've offered things like that. But I suppose what Patricia was trying to get at was, why do people come? What are the goals in coming to Toastmasters?
I find it's usually work related or careers.
Well, that's a good point. It's often work related. So that is one of the reasons they want to. that they want to get on with a career, yeah?
That their job has now brought them to make speeches or say something in public, or also when you go to meetings.
Mm.
That's what we hear most often.
If I might just comment, Mark, to me, the question, the two-part question, it's they're both linked. You can't become a more effective speaker if you're not speaking for a specific purpose. So both of them are interlinked. So I would see in that regard, and it was something that Evelyn mentioned earlier on as well, about the specific purpose. One feeds into the other and vice versa. But mentoring, anybody that's involved in mentoring should approach it as if they're writing an essay. The introduction, the main body, and the summary, ABC. I'm a firm believer in that approach because it simplifies everything, because you guide the mentee into how to introduce his or her subject matter, talk about the subject matter, and then slip away.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But and thank you, Tom. But I just wondered if anyone else wants to make a contribution.
Mark, could I say something? I'm trying to come in.
Please do.
To be an effective speaker, you have to speak. And I find that people give a speech and they don't give another one for ages. I think people should be encouraged to at least do a speech every 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. The only way you become an effective speaker is by speaking.
Okay,
and even if you're not great at this.
Yeah, well, we can include that. But I think we're actually looking, we've looked at why they want to become more effective speakers. And it seems to be mainly career. They're going to have to give talks. They're going to have to go to meetings. Yeah.
But also inspire people or motivate people or change people's life, because somebody can change the life of someone just expressing something. Like, for instance, people change and supported Luther King because of his speech. So many people, just one speech can change the world.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Mark,
good
can I
point.
add? This is Sue. One of the reasons that I'm here is to actually improve on my speaking capabilities, my communication skills. And one of the challenges that I face is when I'm actually put on the spot. So if an employee were to throw a random question at me, how do I respond to that if I don't have the information at hand? How can I come across smooth in transition when I communicate without coming across as a complete fool without any of the information at hand? I think it's to deal with those random questions that get thrown at your way, or those kind of scenarios that can play out where you don't have the information at hand, but you need to play for time to be able to respond in a clear and concise manner. Because what I struggle sometimes is when I don't have the information, it comes out as a complete verbal diarrhea. I try to jumble whatever information is there in the back of my mind. I try to put things together, but it does not come across in a structured manner. Now that could be because I'm not a native speaker. I might not be as fluent as a native speaker. So I'm trying to form sentences and communicate it across. And like Mary was saying earlier, it could be a matter of practice that as I keep practicing, as I keep talking, it might get easier. But I don't know if there are ways, or there are methods where you can actually bring in random topics or impromptu topics that we could use to maybe get people. I don't know if others in this group actually have the similar problem as I do, but this is one of the reasons I'm here, to learn how to do it, or if I could get any tips or tricks from all of you who are experts in this field on how to manage it. So it's just that I just
Yeah,
two
very
cents.
good point you make, Sue. And we all have difficulty. All of us here, I guess, have found it and often find it difficult when we're put on the spot, and that's why we have table topics. To address that. So that's one of the things we can do, to show we support, that we have this table topic session, which gives random topics yeah, without forewarning, yeah.
And Sue, just relative to yourself, the great experience is by entering competitions where you'll be put on the spot for table topics. But,
I'm going to get the rest.
but that's for the advanced course. That's not for the joiners, which we're trying to talk about. Yeah, but
I'm not quite sure that will go down too well on the advertising. I don't know. It might.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you know that you can carry it on to higher levels. You know, if you aspire.
But you can't beat a bit of competition for a challenge.
Mark, I think that we want to become more effective speakers to get our point across.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
We've got 1.5 minutes left.
Okay, thanks.
The two people who joined us late, Eamon and Sue, we are recording this. So if you've got any problems with that, can you send me a message in the chat?
I'm fine, Danny.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Okay, Eamon.
Thanks, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Danny, just in connection with the presentation tonight and next week, will we be getting an email printout at the conclusion of what transpired?
Yeah, all the presentations will be emailed round to you.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Okay, so unless you've got any more points, we're in the last final minutes. Yeah.
Right. Time to wrap up.
Okay.
A large cappuccino, Mark.
Sorry?
A large cappuccino.
Okay. Well, can I thank you for all being so responsive?
Yeah.
Anyway? Yeah.
And likewise.
So you're not short of ideas. Yeah.
And thank you very much, Mark, for volunteering.
And for more.
Yeah.
So
I hope
you're
I get
okay
over
to
having
feedback,
my arm
Mark?
twist so badly.
No.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah. Look what I found the other day. Speeches that changed the world. No.
Is mine in there, Eamon?
Right, huh? What's your name? Joe?
Yes.
Well, thanks very much, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
I'm going to be a facilitator for the next 20 minutes. So my role is just to make sure things flow correctly. We need to do two things. We have to choose which topic we're going to discuss. So ours are, why did you join Toastmasters? Is it to achieve professional goals, or is it to develop strategies for motivating others? Once we've chosen that topic, that's what we're going to discuss. We need someone to volunteer to feed back into the plenary session. And I think someone just to keep their eyes on time, because we only have 20 minutes. So who wants to discuss, who joined, by show of hands, who joined Toastmasters to develop strategies or to achieve professional goals? Okay, professional, who's going to vote for professional goals? So that's 3. Oh my goodness. I can see where this is going. Okay, there's 3 hands. Who joined because they want to develop strategies for motivating others? Oh my goodness. Okay, so can we say we're going to go with the former one? We're going to go with, for the sake of discussion, we join Toastmasters because we want to develop, we want to achieve professional goals. Yeah?
Perfect.
Okay, good. Do you want to say this, if we go around very, very quickly, sorry, no, before we get there, who is going to feed back into the plenary session? We need a volunteer to feed back. Oh, James. Oh, brilliant. Thank you, James. Okay. So you have to make notes as well. Okay. So the first question is, if we join to achieve professional goals, what professional goals did we want to meet? Mine was to deliver better project pitches and project updates. I wanted to do that in my roles. That was one of the reasons I joined, and to be more confident doing it. Okay, who else has got a reason? Alva.
I suppose the reason was to become more comfortable, you know, in speaking in groups.
Excellent, excellent. Bridget. You're on mute.
Sorry, mine was to become better at interviews. But that was my primary concern. Yes.
Brilliant. That's really good. Sheila.
Mine was probably to become a better trainer more than professional goals, in that I don't think professional goals had been invented when I joined Toastmasters. So there was somebody who I got a very short-term contract, and I found somebody who had been in Toastmasters and was actually one of the first Toastmasters in the UK. That was John Smith. And he set up Toastmasters in Edinburgh, definitely was the first club in Scotland, and they invited me along. So that was why, but for me, it was probably to be a better trainer in presentation skills. And once I got there, I realized I was rubbish, but you know, actually going there is, and actually a lot of people I think find out when they get there and they get the feedback that they suddenly realize that they could be better at what they do.
I know it's a revelation for a lot of people. Okay, Robert, why did you join? What professional goal did you want to achieve when you joined Toastmasters?
Well, I wanted to be a better speaker in public because in my job I didn't do very much speaking. It was a job that I didn't have to interact with many people, so that's why I joined.
Excellent, excellent. And Susan, what is your reason for joining and having this professional goal that we've chosen? Can you hear me, Susan? You're on mute. Okay. Susan, can you hear us? Okay. Susan may only wish to listen at this point, so let's move on. Okay, so having got all these reasons why we joined and the professionalism we wanted to gain, the important thing is, how can we support members to achieve these goals? What can we do in our clubs? What can we do with each other? What can we do, as I said, to achieve these? And again, I'm going to go around one by one to help. I'll start first this time because just to get it going. I think one of the important things to support members is to listen when they come, to ask them what their goal is. I think we don't do this enough. So we know why they've joined our club and what their professional goal is. So that would be mine. I'm going to go to James. I know you're writing, but you can still write and talk at the same time.
So I can.
Yes. So how can the club support members?
I think we could do it in two ways. One is we support them as a group, but more importantly, we can assign them a mentor that can give that one-to-one encouragement and support.
Brilliant. I love that. Okay. Bridget, how would you support them?
Yeah, I was very interested in what you said, Elizabeth, there a minute ago, because when I joined the club, nobody knew why I joined it. Nobody ever asked me why I joined it. And I think probably if they had asked me, maybe I would have got more support, you know what I mean? But then again, I suppose that was up to myself as well, but which I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't tell
I
them.
know exactly what you mean, because I was the same. I joined and no one asked me why I was there.
Yeah.
I just had the manual, start doing your speeches, but no one knew why I came. So for me, that is so important. So I try to do it as much as I can. Okay, so that's ×2. We've got that one. Alva, what more can we do to help them achieve their goal?
Well, I have to agree with all of the suggestions that have been put forward so far. I think the encouragement bit is really, really good. And just going from my own situation, somebody just might have a quiet word and maybe say, you know, you might have been invited just to say a few words at the end of the first meeting or the second meeting, and maybe why you were there. So that was good. But then as they got to know you, and, you know, there was 2 or 3 people, I suppose, in the club that were, looking back now, they were kind of mentors. And when they got to know you, you know, you might get a little note when they were looking for filling the roles for the following meeting, and they say, do the invocation. That's a really easy one. You know, you can do a nice poem or something like that. And then maybe after that, they might say, look, do the general evaluator, because, you know, that's your opinion and you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you generally, you know, and then you got introduced to the topics, and somebody might say to you, you know, you did really well tonight. There was no A's or M's in there, and that was really good. And just to build you up, and I think we have a really good club that, particularly our past president, he had a gift of knowing when people were ready, and he pushed them. They mightn't feel they were ready, but they were. And I think that's really important, just to get people to interact and take on roles, encourage them to take on roles bit by bit.
I think that is an excellent suggestion, really, really good. And that gentle encouragement and knowing when to push a little and push a lot, I think that is a real good judgment. Robert, how would you encourage people to help them to achieve their goals? What can the club do?
Well, I'm looking at it from a different perspective, seeing that I'm only a newly joined member, and I would love to have a mentor, and I would love to have somebody that would encourage me, like what the last speaker had said. I probably will have to put myself in line for getting all of those, but as it is, the online is a difficulty for me because I haven't been on Zoom before, and I need to get proper skills to be able to come on to chats like this and be able to do something. So I'm hoping to get a good mentor that will help me on the way.
And I think it is wonderful what you just said. 2 things. I would really like to encourage you to stick with Zoom. I know it can be difficult, but this is the way the world is going. I mean, there's no doubt. So learning these skills is a really good way to prepare yourself for what's going to come. I mean, doctors are doing appointments over Zoom. You know, children are being educated at university over Zoom. My job, I work for people in the US, I'm on Teams like 24 hours a day. It is, and we're lucky in D71 because we have a Zoom academy, and people like Geroyd and so on are fantastic Zoom masters. So if I would encourage you to take a course, learn to be a Zoom master. I would challenge you to do that, and I think you would do fantastically well, and it will help you. I would also say to you, get a mentor. That is simply one of the best things you can do in Toastmasters. Okay, enough from me. Sheila.
Okay.
So sorry, Robert. I hope that's helpful.
That's okay. That was very helpful.
Yeah, and take my name if you want. If there are any questions or whatever. I've got a lot of tentacles around the world. I can put someone to help with every problem. Okay, or every question. Okay. Sheila, how can we support members to achieve the goals we mentioned, these professional goals?
I'm going to pick up on the mentor point because I've got two examples. One, I have a mentor who's in Finland, because I'm an area director for the second time. So I've been in Toastmasters over 20 years. And there isn't really anybody that could mentor me in my club, in my area. And to be perfectly honest, even in the division would be, you know, people would go, no, I'm not mentoring her, she's too advanced. However, the mentor I have got in Finland is very, very experienced. So that's the first thing I would say. The other thing I would say is one of the things I do, particularly when we met face to face, was I would have that conversation with people where they came in and say, you know, what do you want? And I'm trying to find them a mentor and find out what they want from Toastmasters. And I have had somebody that's come back to me and said, oh, she said she would be my mentor. And he's getting upset that I am not his mentor. And I never would have said I was his mentor because I was mentoring 2 other people. And it's that bit about you're being really nice at the beginning, but just make sure you don't imply you're going to be their mentor. That we will get you a mentor. And I'm sure that's what I would have said, but he's kind of going, no, I want her. So I've just basically said, look, if you don't think there's anybody in the club that's suitable, there is the Odyssey program, and I think we can find somebody for you through that. And it'll find somebody in another world, and it'll be fine. It'll be okay, you know, because it won't be me.
Okay, I want to pick up on two things that you've said. That's really important. I think you can have several mentors. I have several mentors all over the world, and because I go to them for different things. So the important thing, the mentor doesn't have to be in your club. That's the important thing. And Sheila, people are always saying to me, can I be there? I've mentored so many people, I've lost count. However, what is important is I don't necessarily mentor people. I know mentoring can go on for a long time, but sometimes I say to people, I will mentor you through your pathways level 1. I'll mentor you through your icebreaker. I'll mentor you through your DTM, different things. I won't mentor everyone the same because I haven't got the capacity or the time. So sometimes it's just giving a little bit of mentoring to help the person, and then they can find a different mentor. So the point, Robert, is mentoring, it is flexible and it is optional, but the key thing is get someone you can really work with, someone you're comfortable with, someone who's got some expertise and who really, really want to help you. Okay, enough from me. Bridget, I don't recall if you contributed to this discussion. Did you say what?
I did.
You did, okay. Susan, I'm feeling very conscious that you're one of us, but okay, you may not wish to join us, I don't mind, but I just want to be sure that you haven't got your, you can get yourself off mute if you want to, but please feel free to join us and contribute. We'd love to hear what you've got to say. Okay. I think we've only got about 5 minutes, and we haven't, we've got 3 minutes. And we've now got to use the club mission to complete this sentence. No, sorry, no, I've got it the wrong way around. Let me read the club mission if I can find it. So the mission, actually, sorry, does anyone know it by heart? Anyone know the club mission?
Yeah, it's our club supports those who strive to something by something.
Okay, so close. The mission of a Toastmasters club is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment. So note those words, mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop communication and leadership skills, which in turn foster self-confidence and personal growth. So basically, you're going along to somewhere where you're going to get some support, you're going to learn in a positive environment, and you're going to develop communication and leadership skills, and it's going to help build your confidence and your personal growth. A bit long-winded. Okay. So what we've now got to do is to complete the sentence for James to go back and represent us. So the sentence says, no, it doesn't say that. Sorry, I've got it on my camera.
It says, our club supports those who strive to something.
Yes.
By something.
Yes. So our club, I think our club supports those who strive to, I think it would be achieve personal goals.
Achieve their goals.
Yeah, achieve their personal goals by, actually one thing we didn't mention about helping people is great evaluations. That's really help people to grow. by, and I think, James, you can then list maybe the top 3 or the top 5 things that we can do. I think mentoring featured very strongly. I think understanding what people really want from Toastmasters, you know, because as I said, no one asked me, no one asked Alva. They just guessed in you. And so you can choose that. Okay, I'm going to pause. We've got 1 minute, 1.5 minutes. So James, well, what are you going to say? How are you going to represent us when you go back?
I'm going to represent us with dignity, grace, and hopefully inspiration.
Oh, you know me too well. I think that is excellent. Excellent. Okay. Anything else we want to say to James that we want represented in when we go back in? So we've chosen and we've explored the topic and so on. Anything else we want to say?
I think we didn't mention pathways, Elizabeth, that when they're choosing the actual path, maybe that, you know, the path that suits them achieve their goals.
Yes, I think that's worth, and that comes into that first question, because why you come is partly tied up in that. And it's really important because there are, as you know, 11 paths, and which one you choose. I mean, I choose to fit what I'm doing professionally. I've got 7 paths in my portfolio. I'm a real pathways enthusiast, shall we say, but I tend to choose ones that are going to help me either personally, like I've got a wedding to go to, I'm going to do social speeches and so on, or there was one I did leadership development, because it's the only path with time management. And I was working on a big global project, and needless to say, my time management went out the window. I choose, and so that's a really good point, Alva. So maybe James, you can